Okay, we are going to learn how to use synthetic division to divide one polynomial by another. And I want to remind you real quickly how just plain division works before we do this. Let's just take a number, how about 27? And let's say we want to divide it by 5. Just remember how division works. Okay, 5 goes into 27 5 times. So you write a 5 up here. 5 times 5 is 25. And then we subtract. And 5 doesn't go into 2, so that's our remainder. So we sometimes wrote our remainder as 2/5. So 5 2/5 was our answer. Okay, now remembering all of this, let's talk about how to divide this polynomial by this one synthetically. Now normally the x plus 2 is what we're dividing by, so that'd be like the 5 that goes out here. We're going to do that a little bit different because this is synthetic division. It's like shortcut division, I guess. So out here, instead of writing x plus 2, here's what we're going to do. We're not going to write the x. We're only going to write the 2. And a little tricky thing that helps things work later on is if we're dividing by x plus 2, we're going to put a -2 in the box. I know that seems strange, but bear with me, that's how it works. If we were dividing by x minus 2, we would put a +2 over here. Okay, so over here you write what you're dividing by. Now, over here we're going to write what we're dividing into. And again, we're not going to write the x's. We're just going to write these coefficients. This time we're not going to switch the signs, so we're just going to write 3, 2, 5, and -9. Okay, now we're going to skip a line and write a bar, kind of similar to this bar, and that's the setup. Now we're set up, we're ready to do our division. Okay, the division process begins by, always the same way, you take your first coefficient up here and you bring it straight down. It's the first coefficient of your answer always. Okay, then you take the number you brought down times the number in the box. 3 times -2 is -6. And you're going to write that right here underneath this 2 in your next spot. So -6 goes here. And then you add down the column. 2 plus -6 is -4. You take the number you brought down times the number in the box. -4 times -2 is +8. That goes here in your next spot. Okay, adding down the column. 5 plus 8 is 13. Okay, then you take, again, one more time, take the number you brought down times the number in the box. 13 times -2 is -26. Put that here. And once again, add down the column. You're always adding down the column. -9 plus -26 is -35. Now we're done with our division. We just have to interpret our answers. It's just a bunch of numbers, and it needs to be a polynomial. The first thing is that this last number here, that's your remainder. So I'm going to box it in to remind me that it's separate from the rest of my answer. That's my remainder, kind of like this 2 was here. Okay, these numbers here represent your answer, and they actually represent a polynomial, and they're descending powers of x, with this 13 being your constant term, in other words, no x's. So if this is my no x's term, this is my x to the first term, this is my x to the second term. So my answer then is 3x to the second minus 4x plus 13, and then remainder -35. How would I leave that as a fractional remainder, kind of like we did with the 2/5? So it's going to be 3x to the second minus 4x plus 13. And then -35, your remainder, over what you were dividing by. Remember, we were dividing by x plus 2. And then one other little thing, this is a separate term, so we need to put some sort of symbol in here. So that is your final answer. Okay, let me do another example let me do another example. Okay, now I'm going to do the example that was on page 11 of your notes. 3x to the third, x to the third, minus 2x squared, minus 15, and I'm going to divide by x minus 2, synthetically. Sorry, that's so messy. Okay, we start off by putting in a box over here what we're dividing by. And if we're dividing by x minus 2, we put a +2 in the box. Okay, then along here we put the polynomial that we're dividing into in descending powers of x. That's the important part here. So I have a 3 is my x to the third, then minus 2, and now here's a little trick thing, because this has to be written in descending powers of x. I've got my x to the third term, my x to the second term. I don't have an x to the first term. That's a missing term. So when you do synthetic division, you have to put a 0 there, almost like a placeholder, and then negative 15. So I've got my x to the third, x to the second, x to the first, no x's term. Okay, write my bar, and now I'm ready to begin my division. Let's see, I'll write in black this time. Okay, first step, you take the first coefficient that you're dividing into and bring it straight down. It is the first coefficient of your answer. Then take the number you just brought down times the number in the box, write it here, add down the column. The number you brought down times the number in the box, 4 times 2 is 8. Put it here, add down the column. 0 plus 8 is 8. The number you brought down times the number in the box, 8 times 2 is 16. Write that right here, add down the column. Negative 15 plus 16 is 1. I'm going to box that in to remind me that that's the remainder. Okay, now it's time to interpret my answer. Again, descending powers of x, that's my constant term, that's my x to the first term, that must be my x to the second term. So my answer is 3x to the second plus 4x to the first plus 8 plus my remainder, I'm going to write as a fraction, 1 over x minus 2. And that should get you going on your homework. Email me if you have any more questions.